Welcome to the Live Unrestricted podcast, a show where you'll learn how to heal your relationship with food and your body so that you can focus your time and energy on more important things like your personal growth. I'm your host, Sabrina Magna, food freedom coach, and my mission is to help make your life happier and healthier without stress, overwhelm, or guilt about food. If you love the show, please do go out and share it. And if you're looking for support with your relationship with food, details about my programs are in the show notes. Thanks for spending time with me today. Now let's jump in. So before we get into today's episode, I just want to make a quick announcement and tell you about a very exciting collaboration that I've been working on for the past couple of weeks with the Undiet platform. So what is it exactly? Undiet Online is the largest non-diet space on the internet with over 250 experts teaching you everything you need to know about how to build a healthy relationship with food and your body, and a community of undieters who just get it. So some key points are that it's a safe, diet culture-free space to connect with other undieters while learning intuitive eating and repairing body image. The platform launched on February 1st, 2023, and I'm just so excited about this project because it's making these resources available and accessible for pretty much anyone. So if you're not sure if Undiet Online is a good fit for you, if you've been working on intuitive eating for a while or you're just getting started, the mindset work is always the fastest way to food and body freedom. So if you want to eat intuitively, move your body in ways that you enjoy, and stop obsessing about your body, then this web app is a great resource to add to your undieting toolbox. Focusing on the food and your body are key aspects of undieting, but changing the way that you think is always going to provide the biggest transformations. So on this platform, you're going to have access to a powerful lineup of experts who are going to talk about all kinds of different topics, from diabetes and health at every size, intuitive eating, fertility, pregnancy, body image, menopause, binge eating, raising intuitive eaters. There is everything for everyone and for whatever you're struggling with. And for only $19 a month, you get access to lessons, courses, 24/7 community support, meditations, non-diet movement classes from the best in their fields. So if you are getting serious about leaving dieting behind you and really healing your relationship with food in your body, then this is a no-brainer. If you want to learn more about the platform and see how you can join, I will leave the link in the show notes, and I hope to see you on the inside. All right, that's it for my rambling. Let's get into today's episode. As I'm recording this, I am wrapped up in my heat blanket. I have my happy lamp, my light therapy lamp, right in front of me. I'm sipping on a very large cup of coffee, and I'm recording this in real time. So sometimes I like to batch record some episodes ahead of time, but today is Tuesday. We are releasing this episode tomorrow, and I recorded this, on the fly because I thought that this is something that is a topic that we need to talk about at this time of the year. And that topic is the winter blues, that seasonal affective depression that some people might be feeling at this time of the year. It usually gets worse around January, February. And I know that this is something that a lot of the women in my community can relate to, because yesterday I sent out a email to my email list about what I've been going through and what I actually go through pretty much every year around this time of the year, which is like these intense winter blues. And a lot of people reached out and said that they felt seen, they felt understood, and they could really relate to what I was talking about. So in that email, I shared 18 strategies and tools that I have learned over the years to better handle these winter blues and seasonal depression. And if you are not yet already on my email list, then I will leave a link in the show notes to subscribe, because every week I send out weekly advice to support your journey to healing your relationship with food, with your body, with yourself. We talk about nutrition and mindset and all of these different things that play into your eating habits and the way that you feel around food and about yourself. And the reason why it's important to talk about strategies and habits to help you overcome these winter blues, and that's what I want to talk about today, is because it is all so related. And when you are constantly feeling low energy, lethargic, not really excited about life, your mood is low, your energy is low, all you want to do is turn to these external things to bring us that hit of dopamine. We lack joy in other areas of our life, so we turn to food. We develop these maladaptive coping mechanisms. We don't know how to handle these negative emotions, and stress gets more intense, and we overall just don't feel good in our bodies, leading us to develop these unhealthy coping skills. And of course, we talk about emotional eating a lot in my Food Freedom Academy. And we don't talk about demonizing emotional eating, but it does become a problem when it's your only coping mechanism. And in the winter, if you don't learn these other strategies or habits to improve your well-being and to lift your mood and to keep your mental health balanced, then it does spiral, and then we don't feel good about ourselves. We turn to food, we don't feel good about ourselves, and it really is this loop. And some of you might be able to relate to that. So this episode is going to be really valuable for you if right now or every year around this time, it could start as early as November when the clocks change and we start getting less sun, and it can go until March or April. You kind of stop feeling like yourself. And this is called seasonal affective depression, also known as SAD. Pretty great acronym there. But it doesn't need to be this diagnosed disorder, but just winter blues. So signs and symptoms of this include feeling low energy, low enthusiasm, down, sad most of the day, nearly every day. Oversleeping, always wanting to sleep. I know that this is a big one for me. I take a lot more naps around this time of the year. I'm tired really early. Like in the summer, I have so much energy. I can stay out until midnight, 1 o'clock, and be fine the next day. And now around like 9 p.m., all of my energy is drained from me and I just want to go to sleep. Oversleeping in the morning too, having a hard time waking up, especially because it might be dark out when you wake up. Losing interest in activities that you once enjoyed. Maybe you used to enjoy going out for dinner with friends or working out, and you just don't want to do that anymore. Having low energy, feeling sluggish, having problems with sleeping too much, like I said before, experiencing carb cravings, overeating, weight gain. This can happen in the winter as well. Having difficulty concentrating, you sit down for work and you just can't focus. I know that I go through periods of that as well, where I just feel like I know I have all these things to do on my to-do list. I just have a really hard time focusing on them. And there could be feelings of hopelessness, worthlessness, feeling guilty for no particular reason. So if you feel that around this time of the year, it's just really tough for you, and if you especially live in a cold or snowy city, it could exacerbate those problems, then today I want to talk about those 18 habits, strategies that I have learned over the years, because this is a recurring pattern. It's seasonal. And over the years, I have definitely established some routines and some patterns that had helped me deal with these energy and mood dips so that I don't spiral down and it doesn't start affecting my physical and mental health. And it's kind of just like going through the motion and knowing that this is going to be a tough time of the year, but I know what I need to do in order to still feel like myself and to maintain my relationships and my sanity. Because without these habits, my relationships, my work, my sense of well-being would take a massive hit. And when you don't feel good about yourself, then all of these other kind of byproduct habits like eating well or exercising or taking care of myself can go by the wayside, and then it just gets worse and worse. So what I recommend that you do if you are doing something else right now, if you're multitasking, come back to me and really just pay attention, because these are habits that could have a massive impact on your mental and physical health. So if you can, take out a pen and a piece of paper to write them down, because I'm sure that you know how many times have you listened to a podcast or heard some like really valuable information and you're like, okay, I will definitely do that. And then you just completely forget about it. There is such a magic in writing things down. And so if you can, like, take out the notes app on your phone or take out a pen and piece of paper to take some notes. And also, as I'm listing these strategies off, I really want to give an important disclaimer, is that please don't look at all of these tools and these strategies and think that you have to implement them all at once, or even that you have to implement them all at all. You'll get overwhelmed, frustrated with your lack of consistency, because you're going to try to do way too much all at once and just give up altogether. And that's not what we want. These habits that I'm sharing with you are a culmination of years of small improvements that I've made, trial and error, learning, experimenting, seeing what works for me. And if you're like most of my clients, then you might have a all or nothing mentality, not just when it comes to food, but when it comes to habits and lifestyle change in general, trying to set goals that are too big or unrealistic or broad or specific, trying to go from 0 to 100, and then getting really frustrated when you're not able to stick to all of these things because you've kind of tried to flip your life upside down and do something that is really hard to maintain. So I want you to look at all of these suggestions at really, like I said, just suggestions, and seeing what might feel right for you. So I am a huge nerd when it comes to behavior change and learning how to develop a new habit and make it stick. I actually have a full module in my Food Freedom Academy where we talk about how to form a habit, how to make a habit stick. I have a 10-step habit blueprint. And so I want to help you if you're someone who is struggling with winter blues and you know that there are some changes that you can make in order to start improving your physical and mental health during this hard time. Then here's what I encourage you to do is, as I'm listing off these different strategies, is pick one habit. So at the end of this podcast, you've written all these things down, and I want you to just pick one habit from the list that you've written down and try it out for at least 7 days. And 7 days, 2 weeks, 3 weeks if you can. And again, this is not a quick fix. Remember that sustainable health is built off of consistent small habits, not short-term radical changes. And so picking that one habit that you're going to stick to and just focusing on being consistent with that one. So this list is a combination of strategies learned through personal experimenting and scientific data. So let's get into it. So the first thing that I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast is light therapy. So I have my little happy lamp on my desk. It's not big. I'm looking at it right now. It's super affordable. If you go on Amazon and you just check out happy lamp or light therapy lamp, you'll find a bunch of different options. You can find one for under $50, and you just plop that somewhere like on your kitchen table or on your desk, somewhere that you can just sit and have that on your face for like 15-30 minutes a day, because in the winter you do get less sun, you get less vitamin D, you don't go outside as often, and so having that can be really valuable, and it's super easy. The second thing that I make sure that I do during this time is be consistent and establish a morning routine. So I am very, very attached to my morning routine because it sets me up for my day. I do notice that my concentration, my mood does suffer when I don't do my morning routine. My morning routine does not have to be the same as yours. Mine is kind of intense. I do some meditation, I do some journaling, some stretching for my back, and then I do some kind of movement, whether that's stretching or yoga or weights or HIIT, going for a walk, whatever it is. And I really make sure to be consistent with it and consistent with my wake up time as well. Because as we talked about before, oversleeping is one of the signs and symptoms of seasonal affective depression. And I don't want to get into that routine of oversleeping and then you end up feeling even more tired. So for me, it's 6 a.m. I try my best to be consistent with that wake up time. But of course, I listen to my body. If there's one day where I wake up and I really do feel like I need more rest, I need more sleep, I will absolutely press that snooze button. But as much as possible, I try to maintain that routine. And the third thing is be consistent with a nighttime routine as well, because your day does not just start in the morning, it starts the night before. And I'm sure that you guys have probably experienced this before, where the night before, maybe you set out your workout clothes or your lunch is prepared for work or whatever it is, and your next day just seems to be so much more smooth and easy sailing. And so I make sure to, as much as possible, be consistent with a night routine as well. So winding down, not spending too much time on my phone. I've started being consistent with reading as well, because I have some amazing books that I'm reading right now. So having some time away from screens has been really valuable for me. So number 4 is, I mentioned that it's part of my morning routine, but meditation. I always say this to my clients, but I cannot believe that I am now someone who talks and encourages meditation. The 16-year-old version of me would think I am so granola, but it truly does work. I have been listening to podcasts for years and years now about personal growth and mindset and all that. And everyone always talks about meditation and the power of it. And I always thought that was just for like monks, but it truly is so valuable. So meditation, slowing down, I just do 10 minutes in the morning. If I can, I'll do 10 minutes at night as well. But it helps you just come back to yourself, get out of all of the mental chatter and that voice in your head that doesn't stop during the day, and just it sets you up for a more peaceful, relaxed day. Number 5, is journaling. So as I already talked about, that's part of my morning routine as well, is journaling, because when you're feeling down, it's easy to go into catastrophic thoughts. Your anxiety can get worse. You can start thinking of worst case scenarios when it comes to every part of your life, every aspect of your life. So journaling and putting those thoughts down, there's obviously different ways to journal, which I talk about with my clients, because journaling can look very different from one person to another. But journaling your thoughts, how you're feeling that day, and just putting it down on paper and away from your head can sometimes help you see that some of your thoughts are catastrophic and not super valid, but our brains like to run wild and make us think of worst case scenarios. So putting them down on paper can really help to disconnect you from your thoughts. And I also really like to have a gratitude practice. So writing down the things that I'm grateful for, because again, when you're low energy, when your mood is down, it's easy to focus on all the things that are going wrong in your life. And wherever you place your focus, you start seeing more of that. So if you start making an effort to place your focus on things that are going well, and there's always like some days I don't want to think about these huge things that I'm grateful for. So it can be small things like, I'm grateful for my heat blanket because I really do love my heat blanket, or I'm grateful for my bed. I'm grateful that the sun is out today. Like these small things, it doesn't matter. It doesn't need to be these huge things. Just focusing on things that are going well for you and that you can be grateful for. Number 6 is daily walks. So this habit has a few different functions for me because I actually have to go for many walks a day because of my back. So I have scoliosis, and sitting or standing in one position, it creates a lot of tension and a lot of pressure on my spine. And so I go for at least 3 walks a day, but these walks are not like these 30-minute walks. They're 10 minutes. So daily 10-minute walks, I like to start my day off by going for a walk before I start my work day. It exposes your eyes to the sun, which is really good for your circadian rhythm, which is those sleep patterns. It wakes you up. It exposes you to going outside, getting some fresh air, especially if you're someone who works from home, so you don't have that reason to step outside. Going outside, even when it's cold out, sometimes I will wear 2 pairs of pants. I have my heated socks, my heated mitts, just going for a 5 to 10 minute walk. And sometimes I just really don't want to go outside. So I tell myself, just walk to the end of the street, which is like maybe 200 meters. Just get outside and start. And I never, ever regret it. So if the thought of establishing that new habit seems very overwhelming for you, you can try to incorporate the method of habit stacking, which is combining it with a habit that you already do. So if every morning you sit down and you have your cup of coffee before you start working, then you can combine this new habit of going for that walk with that habit that you already do. So it could be before you have your coffee, you go for your walk. Or right after you finish your coffee, before you sit down at your desk, you go for that walk, and reminding yourself that it doesn't need to be a long walk. And if you need to start with just a 5 minutes instead of 10, start small. Just step outside, get used to being consistent. And then over time, it's going to become part of your routine. And if you're able to do this in the winter when it's cold, the summer is going to be a breeze for you. So that is one habit that is really valuable for me, is those daily walks. The next strategy is very easy as well, which is to limit listening to sad music. When we get in these low moods, it's easy to almost want to milk those bad moods. But when you listen to sad music, I'm sure that you've felt this before, you feel your mood shift even more downwards. And so I make a special effort, especially in the winter, to listen to like really uplifting, positive music. I love like remixes. I love pop music. I love listening to EDM, especially when I'm working out. So just listening to uplifting, positive music when I go for my walks as well. The next one is making time for home cooking. So this is a habit that brings me so much joy. And I know that in the summer, especially, I have less time for that because I'm a lot more busy. I'm going out to eat more, but making time for habits that bring me joy. And for you, if that is baking or puzzles or what are some other habits? I can't even think. Coloring, prioritizing time for those habits that just you do for fun, that just make your mood better is really important. So my hobby of home cooking and getting creative with trying new meals not only brings me joy, but it helps me prioritize making nourishing meals, because of course, if I'm always going out for like the fast food and things that don't make my body feel good, I'm going to have even lower energy. It's going to affect my mood, and then that will spiral downwards. So how many have I listed? I don't even know at this point, but let's just keep going. So the next strategy is also a pretty simple one, which is vitamin D supplements. So in the winter, we get less vitamin D, same thing as with the Happy Lamp. So getting good quality vitamin D supplements can be helpful in making sure that you're not deficient there. Then the next strategy is to avoid overconsumption of caffeine. it's easy when you feel like your energy is constantly low, you're always tired, to want to turn to those external things to give you energy. But then you can become dependent on it, and too much caffeine is going to make you more fidgety, more anxious. And it's just overall not a recipe for success. So I try to limit my caffeine as much as possible. So if there's a morning where I feel like I have good energy and I don't necessarily need that external caffeine, then I'll go for decaf coffee, because I really just love coffee. I love the morning ritual of having coffee at my desk. I love the taste of it, but I don't necessarily always need the effects of the caffeine in it. And so I always evaluate, is today a day that I could go without that caffeine? And if there's a morning where I really do feel like I need that hit of caffeine, I'll try to stick to 1, maybe 2 cups a day, but not becoming dependent on it. So now strategy number 11 is to preserve my energy by not over scheduling myself. So this is something that I tend to do, is I always feel like I don't have enough time and that I constantly should be doing something. And I was actually having this conversation with one of my best friends this week, that in the winter, or when you get in these moods where you really just feel like your energy is limited, you have to preserve it as much as possible. And this is where meditation, or just conscious awareness of how you're feeling, can become really valuable, because you can slow down and ask yourself, what do I really need right now? And when I get in these hard months, a lot of the time, like, I need just time to slow down. I need just to be by myself, or I need to just read a book or watch a movie. And it's okay that I go out and socialize a little bit less. But of course, you want to maintain those connections, and that's going to be another strategy that we talk about. But maybe that means more phone calls, more FaceTime dates, less going out to eat, or leaving the house at night when it's cold and it's dark, because that does take a lot of energy. And this is something that I've definitely noticed about myself. Just 2 weeks ago, I spent a whole weekend day. It was super fun. My boyfriend and I went out for lunch, and then we went skating in the old Port of Montreal. Then we went out for dinner. We had this full day, and it was really fun, great activities. But then the next day, I felt like all of my energy had been drained from me, and all I wanted to do was just sit home and watch movies by myself. And so making sure that I'm finding balance there, of still having those fun activities to look forward to, but not over scheduling myself to a point where I feel like I'm burning out and I'm forced to take time and slow down. So that is number 11. Number 12 is to plan at least one night a week, which is often Sundays for me, to just do nothing. This is my me time, and I like doing it on Sundays because it helps me feel a little bit more energized waking up on Mondays, even though I still often feel quite tired after the weekend, but still it's helping me get in order, make my schedule for the week, look at my to-dos, and just sit down and slow down after a usually busy weekend. But this could be any night of the week, just having a day where you're not making plans with friends or doing any crazy activities. Like, you're really just slowing down and spending that time with yourself, whether that's taking a warm bath or reading a book or doing those activities that we talked about that just bring you joy, that it's not about being productive or getting things done off of your to-do list. It really is just to enjoy your time and be instead of do, because we're always in a doing mode. And this is something that I see in a lot of my clients, is this constant need for being productive, and we never actually make the time to just be and do something for the pure joy and relaxation of it, which is really important for your mental health. Because if you want to be able to have that energy, to be able to focus on those things that are productive, you need to make time for rest as well. So planning at least one night a week to do that has been really helpful for me. The next one is going to bed at a consistent time. So I usually go to bed around 10:30, and just being consistent with that, because the more that you get used into that habit of going to bed later and later, it throws off your entire routine. It throws off your circadian rhythm. You feel out of whack when you wake up in the morning. And then I'm sure that you guys have experienced this before. You wake up and you feel groggy, and then it just affects the rest of your day. And then you end up going to bed even later. And so just having a consistent time, a consistent bedtime, and trying to stick to it as much as possible. Again, I want to avoid getting into that all or nothing mentality, that there are some nights where I end up staying up a little bit later. I'm going out or whatever it is, and I'm not able to get to bed at that time. But as much as possible, when I can, I make that effort. The next one is getting some movement in every morning. So this one can be a tough one, because there's definitely some times where I wake up in the morning, it's dark out, and all I want to do is stay in my warm bed or just roll out of bed, go to my desk and start my workday. But I know for a fact that doing some kind of movement, and that doesn't need to be this super intense workout. I have healed my relationship with exercise, knowing that exercise does not mean burning calories or exerting yourself or sweating. It can be any kind of movement. It always makes me feel better. And so really making an effort when I wake up and when I have that thought of I just don't want to do anything, is okay, how will it make me feel afterwards? And not how many calories is it gonna burn, or do I need to work out to burn off what I ate yesterday, but really like, how is this going to affect the rest of my day in a productive way? And I know that getting some kind of movement always helps with my energy. It always helps with my concentration. And so when I wake up and I have that low energy, I implement something that I learned from Brendan Bouchard, which is called IOA, immediate opposite action. So when you feel tired or you feel terrible, you take an immediate opposite action to the feeling. You do something that is going to build up that energy. And so getting started is not always the easiest, but when you start with the mentality of, let me just start with 5 minutes. This has been the most helpful for me, especially this winter when I don't want to get started. Just start with 5 minutes. Start with 5 minutes of stretching. Start with 5 minutes of yoga. And if all you do is 5 minutes, it's already better than nothing. Starting with 5 minutes. And of course, most of the time I end up realizing, okay, this is definitely what I needed to do. It really makes a huge difference for the rest of my day. So the next one is intentionally doing something that makes me feel good daily for at least 15 minutes. This could look like anything for you, and what works for me might be different for you. But for me, it could be taking a warm bath, or reading my book, or watching a comedy stand-up on Netflix, calling my family, watching funny reels on Instagram. This is a new thing that I've started doing. I was never a big scroller on social media until Instagram started recommending to me these absolutely hilarious reels. And so now, like, when I'm down or I just want something that's going to lift my mood, I've stopped demonizing scrolling on social media, because I tune into my energy and it really does make me feel better. I'm not comparing myself to other people. I'm just looking at these funny reels, and just doing that for like 15 minutes a day can make a huge impact. So whatever makes you feel good, whatever lights your soul, and it doesn't have to be the same thing every single day. Like one day I do just feel like reading, and other days I'm like, I don't want to use my brain. I don't want to learn right now. I just want to kind of shut off, which could be watching Netflix, or like I said, scrolling on social media. Just making sure that you're doing it from a place that lights your soul, not one that triggers comparison or feelings of not being enough or worthlessness. Just something that really makes you feel good and that you can feel it lifting up your energy. So the next one, how many are at? We have 3 more. So the next strategy is making an effort to keep connecting with my friends and family. So during this time, it's really easy to close yourself off and become a homebody. And you're just so tired that you don't really want to make an effort to see people. But then you feel bad because you're not seeing people. You feel disconnected. You feel lonely. And it's this loop. And so if you don't have the energy to go out for dinner or go to a friend's house or really make that effort to show up to go somewhere and see people, then something as simple as, like I was saying before, phone calls, FaceTime dates, just connecting with people, talking through things because other people might be feeling that same way too, can help you feel connected. And I know that a lot of people struggle with turning to food for that sense of connection. When we feel lonely, we turn to food to soothe that and to ease that pain. And a lot of the times, like, we just need someone to talk to. And so making that intentional effort to stay connected with friends and family. The next one is a funny one, and I actually really like it because I just learned about it recently through the Mel Robbins podcast, and it's listening to bird sounds. So I know it sounds a little bit silly, but what I love about this one is, number one, it is so easy to do. And it's been shown through research that listening to the sound of birds just for a few minutes can lift your mood for as long as 8 hours afterwards, right? And I want you to think, like, in the summer when you wake up and you hear those birds chirping, instantly you just feel happier, you just feel better. And so if you're skeptical, give it a try because it doesn't require you to spend any money or really any extra time. If you're someone who does who commutes or who works at your desk or whatever it is, and you can listen to it in the background, just go wherever you're listening to my podcast on some platform right now, whether that's Spotify or Apple Music. Just search up bird sounds. And I have one which is like 2 hours of bird sounds that I listen while I'm working. And it really just does feel good. It makes me feel like summer is coming, even if it's still far away. Just listening to bird sounds can help lift your mood. And the last strategy, number 18, is I make an effort. This one is going to sound a little silly as well, but I make an effort to spend money on myself. I'm someone who has no problem spending money on other people, spending money on my business to help my clients. But when it comes to taking care of myself, I'll feel guilty for spending $100 on a massage or a nice meal, even though, especially with my chronic back pain, like these small acts of self-care can really go a long way. My boyfriend bought me a massage for Christmas. So last week I went and got the massage and I walked away from it. Just not only did I feel so much better physically, but just knowing that I spent an hour there for myself, like taking care of myself, it had a really big impact on my mood and my sense of well-being. And I walked away thinking, I need to do this more often. And I want to make it a practice to do it at least monthly, of just spending that money on myself. Another thing that I've been doing is when I go to the grocery store now, every time I go to the grocery store, I buy one item that I wouldn't normally buy. So I'm sure that you get in like these routines. We create this brand loyalty. We buy the same snacks. We buy the same food most of the time. And I just really like going and finding one snack that I don't usually buy and just having that in the house and having that to look forward to. And so what was it last week? Last week it was these goldfish crackers that were pretzels, like pretzel goldfish crackers. And I was craving it. They looked good. I had never had them before. And I really have been enjoying them. And of course, when you're an intuitive eater, you are able to have these snacks in the house and not feel like you need to get them out of the house because there's no guilt there. They really are just there to enjoy. The bag is still there. And I'm really excited for the next time I go to the grocery store and treat myself to a new different snack. So doing that intentional effort of spending money on myself, showing that kind of self-care, or even just going out and having a coffee has it creates a sense of well-being, and it really just does lift your mood. So those are the 18 strategies that I was able to brainstorm. And I'm sure that I have some others that I kind of just forgot because they've become part of my routine. But I think that this is a good place to start. Like I said, please don't get overwhelmed by this, thinking you have to implement it all at once. And some of these strategies might not be helpful for you. Just like everyone has a different bra size, everyone has different needs. Don't try to wear my bra. Try out different sizes and see what feels right for you. So that's the same thing for these strategies. So I really hope that you did write these things down and that you can pick one, or if you're ambitious, if you're doing one that seems relatively simple or easy, like buying that happy lamp or listening to those bird sounds, you might be able to pick two, like establishing a morning routine. Just don't try to overwhelm yourself. But if you are feeling those winter blues, then please, please, please do pick a habit and try to implement it, because it can make a huge impact on your mood, on your energy. And this is what I do for a living, studying psychology and habits to help people feel better so that you don't have to. It's not your full-time job, it's mine. So I really hope that this helps. So here is your action step. So you're going to pick one or two items from this list. And then I want you to head over to Instagram. So I'm on Instagram at Sabrina Magna Health, and send me a DM letting me know which one you picked. I answer all of my DMs personally. So let me know which one you picked so that I can help you stay accountable, and you're creating that kind of accountability just by sharing what your goal is. All right, so that is it for today. Thank you so much for listening. I appreciate you. Only a couple more months of this crappy, snowy, cold weather. I'm actually going to be going to New Orleans next week. I'm super excited to get some sun, be able to go outside not wearing 3 pairs of socks, and getting out of this weather for a little bit. So if you have any recommendations for New Orleans when it comes to food or activities to do, please do send them my way on Instagram. I'm always open, and you can bet your bum that I will be doing lots of eating while I'm there. I'm super, super excited to get to experience the culture of food there. And I'm so happy that now I can go without the anxiety and the fear that I probably would have felt years ago about going on a trip, not exercising for over a week, eating a lot. Now I'm just pure excitement and joy going to visit one of my really good friends there. So if you have any recommendations, head over to Instagram, let me know, send me a DM. And of course, let me know what habit you picked this week. So have an amazing rest of your week, and I will talk to you on the next episode. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. If you found it valuable, I would love if you would share it with someone you know that could benefit. If you're loving the show, don't forget to subscribe over on Apple Podcasts so you don't miss a single episode. I really love hearing feedback from you, so please leave a rating and review over on Apple to help us get in the ears of more people who need it the most. Finally, come hang out with me on Instagram at Sabrina Magna Health for more educational content and get up close and personal with me. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you on the next episode. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. If you found it valuable, I would love if you would share it with someone you know that could benefit. If you're loving the show, don't forget to subscribe over on Apple Podcasts so you don't miss a single episode. I really love hearing feedback from you, so please leave a rating and review over on Apple to help us get in the ears of more people who need it the most. Finally, come hang out with me on Instagram at Sabrina Magna Health for more educational content and get up close and personal with me. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you on the next episode.